What's going on, guys? It's me, TXC Bands, and I'm back with a review of chapter 1085 of One Piece. This chapter is the death of Nefertari Cobra. So it finally happened after the last few chapters of anticipating it. It actually shows his death in this chapter. If you remember from last chapter, Imu pulled up at the end, and we get the immediate reactions to that. We also get some more Void Century lore relating to Queen Lily and the poneglyphs and like the Will of D. We also get a sort of power reveal this chapter for the Gorosei and Imu. It leaves us with more questions than answers, so it's not much of a power reveal. And near the end, we also get another connecting piece to the present day story with Wapol and Vivi showing up in the chapter. So remember to like and subscribe because it will help out the channel, and let's get into the chapter. We'll talk about the cover page to start out, like always. There isn't much in this cover page to talk about since it's a fan request again. It shows Frankie on a beach. He just beat up a crab and he's crying as the turtles that he saved, the baby turtles, are getting to the ocean safely. It's a pretty nice cover page to see because Frankie is overwhelmed with how adorable the baby turtles are. And now into the actual chapter, we start in the throne room where last chapter left off, and King Cobra is looking up to the throne with confusion. In his knowledge, the throne should be empty because that's what the promise said. But it's not. And Imu starts talking, and it's kind of strange. He talks about himself in the third person, and not even just saying Imu, he says Mu, which many fans has interpreted that this referral to himself as Mu, as the Japanese Mu, which means nothing or void or zero or something relating to that, which kind of is what Imu is. They're supposed to be nothing because there's nothing on the throne, but it's Imu on the throne. Cobra recognizes the name Imu as one of the first 20 kings, so that proves that Imu-sama was actually alive all the way back in the Void Century, and it also proves that Imu-sama betrayed the promise. And then Imu talks about the D, on how like modern people in the One Piece world don't know the meaning of the D, but they have it in their names anyway. He keeps talking, and this time he talks about how Queen Lily made a great blunder, which was spreading the poneglyphs. It's a blunder in Imu-sama's eyes, but I don't think it's a blunder on Queen Lily's part. I think since she does have the D in the name, she spread them on purpose. Then Imu starts to get louder and more demanding, and the Gorosei respond by arming themselves. What's funny about this is that the one Gorosei, the bald one with the sword, the one who kind of looks like Gandhi, pulls out his sword while the rest pull out the guns. So that's kind of funny. And then Imu pressed his Cobra on the full name of Lily, where he says her name, Nefertari D. Lily. Cobra knows at this point that he's gonna die. So he asked the Gorosei, will I live? And they pretty much say no because he saw the existence of Imu. Then on the next page, we see Sabo hiding behind one of the pillars in the back of the room. And first off, how do they not recognize that he's in the room with them? Because they have observation haki. I'm sure they have haki since they're the final bosses of One Piece. But anyway, when Cobra says the name Nefertari D. Lily, an arrow from Imu comes from the side of Cobra and stabs him. Immediately after that, Sabo jumps out of nowhere. Sabo proceeds to launch fire attacks, barraging the Gorosei, and even shoots one at Im. The attack that was intended for Im gets swallowed because Imu turns into a monster, a big shadowy monster with sharp teeth. And now Sabo is now in the middle of 5 big shadowy monsters who are the Gorosei. And, well, it's 6 including Imu. And these monsters, these transformations, seem to take the form of different animals. But it could be more than that, since they are the final bosses after all. It could be that they're taking the form of, like, gods of the One Piece world. Kind of how Luffy is the sun god. So the camera in the room is taking a picture now of Sabo with the nearly dead Cobra on the floor, which is going to be used to frame him, but that's unimportant right now. Right now, Cobra is friendly with Sabo because their connections with Luffy. Their friendliness doesn't matter because it's interrupted as the 5 big shadowy monsters come chasing after them. And to respond to this, Sabo picks up Cobra and starts running. Now Cobra says that it's useless because he's going to die, and he just wants Sabo to live with the information that Imu exists. So he entrusts a mission with Sabo as he dies, and he tells him that him, his daughter, and Luffy are members of the D clan. Of course, we already knew Luffy's a member of the D, but it's now new knowledge that Vivi and Cobra are part of the D clan. As Cobra mentions that he and Vivi are part of the D clan, Sabo flashes back to when he, Luffy, and Ace were kids. And Sabo is curious and maybe even like jealous that Luffy and Ace both have D in their name. So Ace's solution is just to stick D in the middle of Sabo's name. He calls Sabo Sa-D-Bo. It makes no sense, of course, but it does make me realize that Sabo has no known last name. And now back to the present, Sabo is getting hit by an arrow, one of the ones that Imu shot, and Cobra tells Sabo to leave him behind, of course, because he knows he's going to die. And Cobra's final words are quoting Lily's letter that he left him, and it talks about how he has to hoist the flags of the Dawn. And a lot of fans are now theorizing that Dawn is what the D stands for, which is a pretty good theory because Luffy is the sun god and he'll bring a dawn, a new day on the world. And then the Gorosei, in their shadow monster form, turn to the wall because they sense something. And through a little tiny peephole, we see the eye of Wapol. And Wapol, he witnessed everything. So now he immediately books it backwards because he is certain that they're going to kill him. But then we cut to the meeting table of the reverie, and a lot of random kings are questioning where's Cobra and Wapol. But a lot of them just want to move on because their absence is unimportant. But certain kings, such as Rikudold from Dressrosa and Neptune from Fishman Island, find this a little bit fishy. So they have their eye open for trouble. And somewhere else, Shirahoshi is begging her brothers to talk to Vivi for one last time. So that cues the cut to Vivi, who is tied up in a room with CP0. They're afraid that she's going to cause trouble, so this is their way of protecting her. And the CP0 members that we see are Jabra and Khalifa. Jabra is talking, and he catches us up on everything that's been going on Mary Joa. He tells us that Sai and Leo declared that they were members of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. This might have played a role in getting Luffy into Emperor status. And then he also talks about how Fujitora and Ryokugyu were fighting over their different ideals, because Fujitora was fine with the release of slaves, but Ryokugyu didn't want them to. And then, out of nowhere, Wapol comes bursting through the walls, and Wapol just picked a direction and just went that way because he was so scared of the Gorosei and what they're going to do to him. After the dust clears from Wapol bursting through the wall, it turns out that Vivi is gone, and Wapol actually took her. So Wapol and Vivi are going to go off together to the end of the world, and Wapol's wife comedically thinks it's an affair, but it's not. It's just coincidentally Vivi was there and gets picked up by Wapol. Wapol's situation is actually more important than we might think, because he ends up talking to Big News Morgan, and Big News Morgans will most likely share the information if Wapol tells them to the whole entire world, because it'll make a great news story. And that's the end of the chapter. We get no break next week, which is awesome. It feels like it's been a while since we actually had no break. And like I said, Wapol hearing about all this information might be a really important step in the causing chaos in the world and causing revolutions. The reveal of the Gorosei's transformations too is also a big deal, because they're like the final bosses of One Piece. And interesting enough, if you remember, Saint J. Garcia, one of the Gorosei, is heading to Egghead Island right now. So he might fight Luffy, and we got a sneak peek of his transformation. Speaking of Egghead, it's been a while since we've actually seen the Straw Hats. Maybe even like 2 months now. And we might not even go back next chapter to see them. But I think the Reverie flashback is mostly wrapped up, so we might actually go back to see them. Or it might cut back to Kamabaka Kingdom, or it might even cut back to Morgan's floating ship thing. So like and subscribe if you're excited for next chapter, and if you made it all the way to the end of this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.